Oh my gosh, it's so great to be back with all of you again. And now we have Martha with us. This is so cool. And last month we were missing Mar, so glad to have her back. And again, we were just talking before we got on about how every month has seemed so epic. And here we go into another epic month. It's like this year, 2025, I think is just epic in and of itself. And then each month has its own epic qualities that we'll be talking about. So we're looking at the June solstice that will begin on June 20th in some time zones, June 21st and others. And I started last time with an invocation to the Cancer mysteries because the solstice season starts when the sun enters 0 degrees Cancer. And then we have in the Northern Hemisphere the longest day and the shortest night, and in the Southern Hemisphere the shortest day and the longest night. And that's because the sun tracks high north in the Northern Hemisphere. It's tracking high across the sky, meaning it's in the sky longer than it is at the opposite season. And in the Southern Hemisphere, it's low in their sky. So they have shorter days. They're in the opposite season, and that's part of why that is. So, but for both hemispheres, the sun is tracking north, which is fascinating to think about, but creating a different seasonal experience for each. So here's the card for the Cancer mysteries, and this is the invocation for Cancer. We acknowledge, honor, and invite the ancient, present, and future keepers of the mysteries of the South, the place of Cancer, of home, family, and roots, the element of water, the season of the June solstice, when the day in the Northern Hemisphere, the days are longest and the seeds have come to fruition. Opposite thing going on in the Southern Hemisphere. I love my home and family. I'm committed to responsibly nurturing the seeds that have been planted, whether they be children, caring for the earth, or other creative projects. I am empathic, nurturing, and kind. I know how to love. Do you need anything? I love to take care of you. I let the children play and keep them safe. I compassionately open my heart to those I love to better meet their needs. I create a safe space for everyone. I am the Mother Goddess. So amazing to tune into, like, this is the essence, the pure essence of the Cancer mysteries. It's like, how are we creating safe space for ourselves and each other and for everyone on the planet? That is what Cancer is most interested in. And this Cancer season is starting off with a lot of Cancer energy, with Jupiter having just moved into Cancer on June 9th. And then we have the sun, as I said, tracking high across the sky, but it's also in the sacred hoop of stars, at the center point of the sacred hoop of stars, on the hand of the high man or high woman, depending on how we want to look at that part of the sky. And I will put a link in the show notes if people don't know already about this. I've talked about it before, in the show notes that will go into greater detail about that. So what's happening on as the sun is moving into Cancer, it's going to square Neptune and Saturn. It's also we're going to have the Venus gate at the throat chakra where she's releasing the things that are in the way of her speaking her truth. And then we'll have the Cancer new moon right after that. So also Sun conjunct Jupiter is happening right in that same time. So we have the Cancer Sun with Jupiter in Cancer conjunct, seeding the Cancer mysteries in a powerful way right at the solstice. And then we have the Sun going to square Saturn on June 21st and Neptune on June 22nd. And this signals the stationing of the retrograde that's happening with Neptune going retrograde on July 4th and Saturn going retrograde on July 12th. And then on July 4th, we have uh, we have Venus conjunct Uranus at almost 2952 Taurus, right as Saturn's going retrograde. And then a few days later, Uranus will enter Gemini for the first time since 1941. And it entered Gemini three times on August 7th, 1941, October 4th, 1941, and May 14th, 1942. And during that time was the attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941, and that brought the US into World War II and probably changed things for everybody on the planet. And it was somewhat unexpected because we tried to stay out of those things in those days, or so we said. Anyway, but that doesn't mean we're going to go into World War III. It doesn't mean that we're going to repeat those patterns, but we have an opportunity to imagine that things are, it's like with all this Cancer energy so powerful, so strong right now, it's like I think the intent is how do we really feel into what creates safety for us personally and then for those around us. And then that ripples out into the greater reality. Uh, and that's what the Cancer mysteries are all about. It's not like I just take care of mine and too bad for you. That isn't really the essence of what Cancer is all about. It's about how do we take care of ourselves, but also how do we take care of each other, and across the globe. And because we are a global reality these days, it's like we really are more aware of what's going on around the globe. So the this we have so many opportunities this month. It's just so mind blowing in terms of what's happening in with the Cancer energy being so illuminated by the sun being square to Saturn and Neptune, ah, Saturn and Neptune, and then they're stationing, and then they're stationing retrograde within, I think Saturn's on July 12th. So this is sort of an overview of what's going on, and I think now I'll just turn it over to others to take the deeper dive into whatever feels most alive for you right now.
What I would love to highlight with this square that there is Cancer and Aries is also very strong. And they are both cardinal signs, so it's time to start something. It's time, like the seeds that were planted, and especially during like the Jupiter Saturn, we just had the square, but it's still present in the summer solstice, and it will be present during the new moon in Jupiter. So it's like go time to wherever we seed it. But these seeds go all the way to December 2020, because then is where this conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn happened, that it was very important because it was in air, and it will be in air for like the rest of our lives and beyond, because it's like 200 years of air conjunctions between Jupiter and Saturn every 20 years. And this is the crisis in action. So wherever we were gestating during these 5 years since 2020 until now is the time to see the sprouts and to really nurture those projects and to be brave, because I think with the Aries energy is that unconditional self-love that sometimes is not so highlighted. It's like we nurture others, but we nurture others in a bigger way when we feel nurtured as well. And then there is no um, a weird energy between I gave you too much or you just took advantage of me. No, it's like I'm my own mother, I'm my source, and then the more I can give is just because I have so much to give. And I think that Aries is very important with Saturn and Neptune to really go deep into our dream life, to see which are the patterns. And for me, lately I've been doing a dream work course, and it's been very interesting how like there is this whole matrix of unconscious dream fabric, that there is rebellion to go no against, but it's like how can I be in sovereign, like within my dreams as well, because there is so much going on in the collective unconscious with that Neptune. And that I think the more work that we do in our dream work and world and everything is very important during this time, and to really take care not only of our thinking, our actions, of course, with Aries, our way of nurturing our family, our tribe, but also the things that we are nurturing without conscious awareness. Because where attention goes, energy flows. And this is why, like, there is this possibility of repeating a historical pattern that it was war like and all of this, but do we really want to repeat that, or are we done with it? So it's like, how can we reweave the fabric of the dream life? And from there, like, the more we go in, each one of us in our own personal life, the more we are changing the collective as well. And I think with Saturn and Neptune, there is like, we can do a lot individually to change the way things are done, and how can we be leaders of our own life, and to stop blaming others, and to stop that victim consciousness of, like, this is the fault of the government, of the politics, of the money, of the economy, or my ex-husband, or the children. No, it's like, you are choosing your life in every second, so why are you choosing to have that experience projected back to you? And how can we reweave that energy within our dreams? I think is very strong in both, in the solstice and the new moon. It's like there is this power of gestating a new life and really bring the sprouts for something. And if we have been feeling stagnant for a while, I think this is the time to, that's it, green light, go for it. So yeah, I'm super passionate about this summer.
I can jump in. I would love your thoughts about the exactly what you're describing, Mar. That we have this time right now as Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, just for this little kind of blip of 2025, right? And this is something, Kaylin, you and I held that free summit in March, and it's all about this Aries Pisces dance. So now we're in the time. We held that summit right before Neptune was entering Aries, and we ended it actually on the day Neptune entered Aries. So it's kind of perfect now that we're having this conversation. And here we are. Saturn has also now entered Aries, and Saturn will be there only until September 1st. So we have, a little more than, well, 3 months-ish when they're both in that first couple degrees of Aries, um, in 2025. And then they're going to go back into Pisces, and then they'll fully re-enter in early 2026. So, like, I keep sitting with this question of, feels like an opportunity during this little moment, right, where we can really learn from these energies and feel these energies of Saturn and Neptune being in Aries. And I completely agree with you, Mar, that one of the big themes I've been feeling is this really strong imperative to let go of victim mentality. Like, we need to be done, really done, and take full self-responsibility for, like, Saturn in Aries, choosing to take self-responsibility for how we're going to create the new in concert with the divine Neptune, right? Yeah, that feels so good and so important and really empowering ultimately. And then they're both going to go back into Pisces for another little while before they fully enter. So I would just love to hear anybody else's other thoughts about, like, what is this opportunity of this moment? Um, Feels like so much there. And I have other thoughts too, but I'll pause with that.
Well, I love this theme that we're weaving within each other, because I do sense that as Neptune particularly and Saturn go back into Pisces again. Right now they're in Aries and they're making that square to Jupiter this as we go into this Cancer season. As they go back into Pisces, it really gives this opportunity to really find this sense of inner peace and have the integration within ourselves. Because if we do not have a sense of inner peace within ourselves, we are not going to have inner peace within the world. So many spiritual teachers say, you want to change the world, change yourself. And so if what we're wanting is inner peace, or is having not inner, but external peace, which I believe we all want within our hearts, every single person that is tuning into this, that there really is an invitation to find that inner peace. And I think maybe it was within the summit, the Becoming Superconductors of Love Summit. I think, Kaylin, you might have spoken about this, that there's research on if a certain percentage of people can meditate and emanate peace, and it's a very small percentage, and can go into, for example, an area that's experiencing war, that very intentional small percentage of people has a ripple, and then we see the external starting to align with peace. So there's this really powerful invitation here, to be that which we want to see in the world. And what inner work do we need to do, and the integration that we need to do to really be it and become it. And I just think it's amazing. This solstice is epic, because Jupiter, who, in traditional astrology is given exaltation and Cancer, this is like the only time since I actually just looked, the last time the last time Jupiter went into Cancer about 12 years ago, it was just after the summer solstice. So at that solstice point, Jupiter was still at the end of Gemini. The last time that Jupiter, interestingly, was right there, that Jupiter was at the beginning of Cancer, right when the sun had the summer or the Cancer solstice, was actually 1942. I was just looking. It was June 10th, 1942, Jupiter went into Cancer. And then when we had that solstice, Jupiter was still there, which is interesting because you mentioned that year, Kaylin, as when Uranus was going between Taurus and Gemini. So Uranus and Jupiter must be repeating some cycle within their dance that we're repeating here. And it feels like this really beautiful invitation to have a different outcome than what we saw then, through being really intentional and attentional with our energy. I mean, there's, I think, such really powerful, and we were even talking about different things before. I always feel like our conversation is like, if we could just like get rolling from the very beginning. But a few different things. I mean, the Pleiades have now, with moving 1 degree every 72 years of the precession, the Pleiades are now more like aligned to Gemini than they were 72 years ago, or in 1942, however many years ago that was, about 80 years
I
ago.
think
Yeah, something like that. My mind is like, with my 29-degree Pisces Mercury. But there's something that the star codes, and the cosmic support that is streaming through to us to the earth, to our physical bodies, that like antennas that we can receive it in and be activated. There is so much, I would call it like our star lineage support. There is so much cosmic support here to support the elevation of our consciousness, and to support creating a different reality, a new reality that I believe is aligned to love and peace and care and kindness. And if we just want to bring it back to on the personal level, having a solstice with Jupiter conjunct the sun at the exact solstice, just to get some of the Virgo details, where Mars will be at 2 degrees of Virgo, by the way. The solstice is June 20th at 7:42 p.m. Central. And we have the sun, that's the solstice is when the sun gets to 0 Cancer. Jupiter is at 2 degrees of Cancer. So there's a really strong Jupiter Sun conjunction. Jupiter, just energetically, it loves the Cancerian waters. It's where it's sign of exaltation. And there's this really beautiful, so Sun and Jupiter in Cancer, there's a sextile to Mars, who is at 2 degrees of Virgo. And then from the sun, another sextile to the moon, or moon and Mars trining, however you want to play with it. The moon is at 0 degrees of Taurus at the exact moment of the solstice. So there's this really beautiful yin, trining, sextile, flowy energy here between the sun, our life force energy, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, abundance, good fortune. Really, the essence of Jupiter is, am I living a life of higher meaning and purpose? Am I living a life where I'm inspired and connected to purpose? So making a harmonious energy with Mars, the planet of action, and Virgo, and then the moon, right? Who traditionally, the Cancer is her temple, and in Taurus, grounding, fertile Taurus. I see this really powerful energy, like you spoke to, Mar, about like a lot of supportive energy to have expansion around taking action. I mean, it's really there's a really I feel a very auspicious energy around the solstice. So this is a time. Take action. Go for it.
Yes. Yes, I love this. And I love that you brought up this there's been studies that have been done by a lot of different people. Greg Braden is one of them. I'm trying to think of the guy who was in The Secret. He's done these studies about people coming together in love and peace and kindness and putting that energy into the world. And I think it was they said they took if you took 1 million people, 1% would be 100,000 people. And if you take n squared of that, it would be 100 people. So if you took 100 people out of a million in a maybe a location of 1 million people, you can affect the experience by focusing. And of course, Cancer is all about how do we love and care and nurture and support our community, our family, our people, our planet. I mean, we could extend it out to the planet for sure. So I love that. I love that you brought that up, and that all the other things that have been said with Saturn and Neptune and how they're in this relationship. Now, if you think about Saturn and Jupiter, they are middle world planets. We can see them from Earth. So they are part of our reality. The Neptune, celestial world, not we can't see. I'm going to talk about Chiron in a minute. Can't see Chiron, underworld, where we go to do the deeper dive into whatever's needed. But here we have these middle world planets in relationship to one another, and that's when we can get things done as well. So I love that. And yeah. Um, and the other thing we have coming up is then in after the new moon on June 24th, out of bounds, by the way. So we continue this out of bounds energy that takes us outside of our ordinary reality into something extraordinary. So we can plant the seeds for whatever it is we're choosing at this time that's already been spoken to. And then the Capricorn full moon on July 10th, also out of bounds. So, and I like to think of Capricorn, often it's thought of as kind of being the one that gets things done and is, the leader and all of that. But it's also about how do we do it in a way. Capricorn ultimately wants to be able to do what it does in such an effective, efficient way that it doesn't take a lot of work. Like we've been trained to think it's supposed to take a lot of work. And that's not the essence of Capricorn. Capricorn is, I am so effective, I am so efficient, I know how to get things done in the best, most efficient, effective way possible. So it's sustainable for the generations to come. And it requires the least amount of effort. And in fact, there are tribal cultures that they've done geological studies on that could support everything they needed in their culture with about 15 hours a month of actual work. And the rest of the time was play, was socializing, was ceremony, was crafting and creating things. And so, can we get back to that, please? And it wasn't about power over or domination or control or all the things that we kind of tend to see has become more of the Capricornian expression in our dominator culture. So out of bounds, outside those boundaries of the old and creating something new and different with that Gemini moon. And then the last thing I want to say is that when the sun is square outer planets, it what represents that it's going to go retrograde soon. So we've had the sun square Saturn and Neptune, as already mentioned, and then they're going retrograde shortly after that. On July 17th, the sun is going to square Eris. Eris and Chiron are still very close together, and Eris is going to go retrograde on July 22nd, and then the sun's going to square um, Chiron a couple days later on July 19th, and it's going to go retrograde on July 30th, so a little past our Cancer window. But just that's getting set up as well. And if we think about Eris, chaos and discord, but out of that comes the new order, and Chiron about healing the deep wounds that are in the way of that. So the two working together. And the last time they came together was in 1971 and 1972. And they're very close together this whole year. So it feels like their station points, their square of the sun, and their station points are significant. So with that, I'm going to pass it along.
I just want to I want to throw in something coming to me as we're talking also is um one of the key components maybe here also is that we have we've had such a very, very strong Piscean energy. We still have the North Node in Pisces, and then now we have this very strong Cancerian energy, right? And both in relationship to this Aries energy and Saturn entering Aries. So again, I'm just coming back to that because it feels like one of the things that we can be really taking responsibility for, especially those of us who are the type of people who are here on the screen and then everybody watching, we are empathic. We are very, very compassionate. We want to give, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And, and as Kaylin and I have talked about a lot, one of the gifts I think of this Aries energy can be, especially Saturn entering Aries, can be, whoa, yes, we are here to be giving and compassionate and all the things. And we have to have boundaries. We have boundaries. Actually, no, we have boundaries. We have to recognize our boundaries and honor them, you know. And I feel like as we're trying to switch modes, like you're describing that Capricorn energy and its most healthy or whatever actually wants to be easeful, right? Well, one of the ways I think we can probably be a lot more easeful is if we do not give where it's not ours to do. Like it's not, we only stay with what's actually ours to do and actually in alignment for us. Because probably, I'm guessing, I don't know Mara as well, but I'm guessing we all, and basically 90 something percent of people listening tend to be the ones who give and do everything all the time in whatever way. Yes, correct. So, but we're done with that, right? We're all collectively choosing to move on from that very out of balance paradigm. And yeah, so throwing that into the mix.
I love that. And I will say as well that sometimes when we are giving too much to someone else or like trying to support them too much, we are really taking their opportunity to grow. Like I'm sure like the ones who are mothers are not, but it's like they have to make their own mistakes, right? And we are in a point in time that we are all of us jumping into something new. So all of us don't know where is it that we are going to take that leap of faith, and we are going to make mistakes for sure. And I think part of something that is coming to me now very strongly is that Aries doesn't care about making mistakes. It's just when it's very aligned, it's just spontaneous. And it's like life is taking me that way. And I don't even know why or how. And I'm talking about being a triple Aries myself. So it's part of the process of the energy is coming and it's very raw. It doesn't take care of the details. And during this time, we will have Mars in Virgo. So that is a very interesting part. It's like, yes, But there are some details that we need to pay attention to. And Saturn in Aries as well, it's like there is a mastery of that pure life force of Aries that it comes to us very raw, but at the same time it's a time of polishing that. And I see and feel it like a master of martial arts. It's like you have that energy like Karate Kid, like with this polishing, and then there is this teaching of like how do we take care of that pure wild life force energy, trust that we are taking a leap of faith, but at the same time we are using all the experience from the past. And and that is very strong as well with the Uranus and Venus conjunction
Mm.
the last degrees of Taurus. It's like there is this stability that Taurus wants that is not possible at this time. And Venus is like you love yourself even when you make a mistake. It's okay because the mastery, you can only get fluent in something by making mistakes. And in my another life, I used to teach languages. I was teaching Spanish, and the blockage that my students have, the most, like the biggest blockage was the fear of making mistakes. And there is no way to learn a language that is not your own, that is not by communicating and just like not caring about those mistakes, because as you go you will be able to polish them to make it better. And that is the Mars in Virgo. It's like you move forward and then you will uh, reframe everything. And I feel that is very connected as well with the Saturn Neptune entering Aries, like a first experience of this energy and then going back to Pisces. It's like, okay, we just took a leap of faith and then we are redreaming, and the mastery will come February next year. So it's like we have a window and it's okay to experiment. And that experimentation will come really with Uranus moving into Gemini during this month as well. It's like, don't be afraid of doing things in a different way, because that is what the energy is asking for all of us. And how when we just take ourselves less seriously, it's like at the same time we know we're sacred, life is sacred, but it's like this playful energy of that I'm just trying, and then let's see where it takes us. Because I think there is a path of passion now that is the leading force. Is the dream with the North Node in Pisces, and the passion with all this Aries energy, and how the Cancer can nurture the passion. So it's like we need to stop, in a way, sacrificing ourselves for others, but it's the other way around. Like the more we are ourselves, the more we are nurturing others, in a way. It's like it's so clear. It's like it's not about making an effort and I'm being like the mother who gives everything for my children. No, I'm the woman who is super passionate, and that is a model for my children. So I feel that there is this change of paradigm, and the Uranus Venus is very much like that's pure self love of trying things that are new. So we will make mistakes, and that's okay because we know we will. So
I love this, Mar, and I love you said something that was so profound. And your flow was saying that like we want a level of stability that is not possible at this time because Uranus in the last degrees of Taurus, if you're feeling a sense of instability, or like if you're like, oh, I'd really love things to be kind of nice and stable and comfortable, and you're like feeling this sense of, oh my gosh, like the life is pushing me in a way that feels unstable, you're right in the cosmic energy. You're right in alignment because what Uranus is doing and these very last degrees of Taurus, which honestly, can be very uncomfortable. It's just depending on how we're relating to the energy. Like it can be, oh, exhilarating and exciting, or it could be very like, I'm wanting so badly to cling to my sense of security and safety and comfort. And I feel like life is pushing me out of it. Like if you're there, it's because you're given this invitation to like embody that full card energy in the tarot deck, which is like that Uranian energy and the Gemini energy, which is to step out of the known, stepping off that cliff, which is really scary because we don't know where we're landing. But there's also possibility and opportunity. There's infinite possibility to the Fool who can step off that solid ground that is Taurus into that free fall that is that Gemini energy of infinite possibility. And so I just want to speak to, I'm experiencing some of that myself in my personal life, and it is very uncomfortable. I'm finding myself saying, oh, like I just really wish, I wish there's some kind of unknown type things that like I wish they were known. I wish they were settled. I wish I kind of had more of a solidness around them. There's a lot of kind of shifting sands happening here. And then I remind myself right where Uranus is at. And what Uranus does by nature is there's nothing wrong with wanting comfort or safety or predictability or security. We need that on a base level for our nervous systems to feel safe enough in our bodies so we can like thrive and not kind of just be like shut down in a state of trauma or fight or flight or freeze or fawn, whichever one, is primary for you. But when we start attaching on like an evolutionary level, when we start getting so attached to our security, safety, comfort, predictability, that becomes a cage. It's Uranus's job from an evolutionary perspective to say, you know what? I'm going to bust you, break through, break free out of that cage. And it's going to probably feel scary AF while it's happening because Uranus can be disruptive. It can be disruptive. It can be jolting. It can shake us up to wake us up, right? Like so if you're feeling that, you're feeling the Uranian energy. When Uranus goes into Gemini, there's probably going to be new energy there for you. There's probably going to be new opportunity. Now, Uranus will go back into Taurus and it's going to go retrograde. And then I believe November is when Uranus goes back into Taurus. And then by I believe April of next year, it's going to go back into Gemini, really starting a new cycle. There's a lot of fresh new energy. Uranus in Gemini is going to bring so much new possibility. This is like the higher mind coming into Gemini, the sign of infinite possibility. There's a lot of excitement and new possibility there. And I just wanted to mention right before Uranus goes into Gemini, Venus, Mar, you spoke about that comes to 29. It's like Uranus goes into Gemini July 7th, July 4th, which is also a huge, right? Because the sun's always close to Sirius by conjunction July 4th. It's a few more, it's like, I think the sun is at 12 Gemini or 12 Cancer July 4th. So it's going to take a few more days. But that July 4th, sun was Sirius. We have Venus meeting Uranus, right? Venus, if we think about her as like the guardian or the temple keeper of the Taurus mysteries, she is like holding Uranus's hand, like walking Uranus through that threshold into Gemini. So that's really powerful. And something that's really coming to me is like with this Uranus instability, the more we can find, right? Like this is it's like a master Uranus and Taurus initiation. The more we can find stability within when things are changing around us, like that is the epic Uranus initiation. And also Uranus and Taurus has been connecting us with the resources of our body wisdom that we never, like the resources we can find within our bodies that we never even knew was available. Like, so there's an invitation to really like connect with your body wisdom. And I even feel like maybe this is kind of like Uranus going into Gemini too. Right before we were meeting, Kaylin was showing us something like just technical, like how to find something in Astro Gold. And Martha and I were like, wow, we never knew there was like all these resources in Astro Gold. And it's like there's like all these, like I use Astro Gold every day. There's all these resources that are there that could make it much simpler and much more efficient, that they're like right there at my fingertips. And I literally just like never clicked on the button and looked. So I feel like that's the metaphor of there are so many more resources, like Taurus, there's so many resources within and without available to us that often it's just a matter of our like awareness being open to them. So if you can expand your awareness, there's new resources that want to come into you.
Oh, love that. So Uranian. So I feel like want to sum up what we've been talking about. Jamie, you're reminding me of some Uranian statements. Freedom from the known. Because if we're stuck in the known, we're not free to move into the unknown and beyond that and into something new. And revolution for evolution, very Uranian. It's like, how are we revolutionizing our perspective and seeing things in new and different ways? And also the Gemini energy being trickster energy. And the trickster is the one who reminds us not to take ourselves so seriously, but also I just listened to something about the trickster it's like in many native cultures they saw that the trickster needed to be honored and valued in ceremonial space. And the trickster would be the one who would come and do something absolutely completely socially unacceptable. Like throw sand in people's faces or pick them up and move them from one place to another without their permission or whatever it might be. And so we're seeing that's playing out. Like there's a lot of socially unacceptable, or maybe we have different ideas about what's socially acceptable or not, but it feels like a lot of socially unacceptable things are happening. The trickster is there to create the change, to help us create the change. And if we can see it from that lens and that perspective, then we're open to see the magic and miracles that are possible. So that's my summary. Passing it on.
Can I just throw in? It's a whole gigantic topic, which I know we don't have time for, but I just feel compelled to mention it, which is I feel the presence of the Pleiades and Sirius both so powerfully, not only this coming month, but this coming year and more, and yeah, Uranus with the Pleiades and all of what you just were describing, of course, that's where the Pleiades are. And then Jupiter and everything transiting Cancer will be going back and forth. Well, Jupiter will go back and forth with Sirius, will actually go direct with Sirius in 2026. And Mercury now, making its way through Cancer as well. Next year is going to go retrograde with Sirius. So it's these two star energies are really alive and calling me so much right now in particular. So I just want to at least name that.
We should probably do a separate video.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Mhm. And actually I just did do a video a week ago on my own YouTube channel if anybody wants to see my perspective. But Kaylin is where I'm learning a lot of this from. So there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I also, as part of the summary, I also wanted to highlight the Pleiades and the connection with the arts and the feminine as this, like the seven chakras, the seven muses, the seven sisters of like so many cultures took them into account. Like in Australia, there are myth, in Egypt, in so many places. There is a book that I love that I don't remember the name at the moment, but we can have it in the show notes about the Pleiades and the different myths in different cultures. But at the same time, it's kind of like how do we rewrite the through art these myths, because in most of them there are these seven sisters who are running away from an old guy, and that's the patriarchy, right? Like running after the feminine innocence and creative life force energy. So I think it's the time to rewrite those stories, and I feel that the creative energy is also very important during this month. Cancer is a very creative energy. Uranus in Taurus with Venus there, Aries. So, like anything creative, and creative can be cooking, can be my business. For me is an area of creativity and like a website, book, but it doesn't have to be painting or dancing. It can be anything that we are creating, and we do it for the pleasure of it, not just for the productivity. That I will highlight. Like there is no creativity to get something, but there is just the pleasure of creating for the sake of it. I think that is very important as well.
Oh, I love that. And just, for my summary, Cancer, it is the life-giving waters of the Divine Mother. And so just something to contemplate, especially as Jupiter's going in there. What are we giving life to within our own lives and every aspect of our life? Because wherever our attention and action is going, even that whatever we're giving life to is going to be the possibility to have a lot of expansion and amplification. So whether it's something that's kind of conscious that we're wanting to give life to, or that we're unconsciously giving life to, that's just something to contemplate. So we can really be giving life and expanding and amplifying the life force of creating what we're wanting to create in our lives.
Oh, this is so amazing. Thank you, everyone. I love all the insights. Everyone's brings such brilliance to all of this. It's so good, so fun. And be sure to check out the show notes for videos and links and whatever else that we've talked about here. And we hope to see you for the Leo solar month. Bye,
Just to
everyone.
share, Martha has a free, I think you did a free solstice event that I want to create space so you can share.
Oh yeah, just real quick. Yes, so yes, I am holding a free live event on oh my God, June June 21st, Saturday at noon Pacific. And I've been holding these and the solstice times recently, where I'm going to be channeling what my guides call the Council of Infinity. So it's essentially a time to come into sacred space where we reconnect each in our own ways to the infinite realms of benevolent beings supporting us in this time. And now that I'm looking at the energy of that solstice, I'm extra excited. So, yes, if anybody feels called, please join me for
And
free.
then and the link to join up will be in the show notes. So sorry, I didn't know that about you, Martha. So
It's all good.
it's all good. All right. All right. Bye, everyone.